Good day. Buenos dias a todos. Welcome, everybody. How are you? Welcome, Will. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Dave.
Hi,
Hello, good
Orgo team.
morning.
Good morning, Orgo team.
Yeah, this is Joe from Orgo.
Hi,
Hey
Joe. I'm
guys.
Dave. Pleasure.
Hello,
Right
Trace
on.
here. How are you guys?
Hi, Trace. Welcome.
Hello, Roberto. Welcome.
Right on. All right. Well, we might as well get going. The people who are here are the exact ones we need to get this party started. So, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dave Fortson, proud member of the Regen Network team, proud member of Loa Labs, and the broader regenerative finance movement. Really stoked to be here with everybody on our weekly Regenerati News Hour. Today we're going to be talking to the Orgo and the CO2 cult teams, plus others. And as always, wherever the conversation meanders, it will meander and it will be glorious, no matter what it looks like. And it looks like we have Josh up on stage from Regen Foundation. Josh, thank you. And thank you for, the other day for hosting the Validator Resilience Twitter space. Maybe even just as we're waiting for people to file in, maybe, if you want to offer some of your high-level takeaways from that chat and what you see moving forward around that discussion.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the chat last week or earlier this week, I should say, was based around validator ecosystem resilience, as you say, Dave, which is essentially assembling the voting bodies of the network. And we covered a lot of things. We covered governance as design. We covered proposal processes. We thought about co-design and what that means in this space. We also thought about various mechanisms, futurarchy or bonding curves, and a number of other interesting crypto mechanisms. I'm just getting my notes out here from the talk. We also talked about engaging participants at a kind of much wider level, the token holding parties within the network, as well as then what governance is in terms of offers and requests. That was another thing we covered. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation as it unfolds. Hopefully it'll be live and kicking. We have a few friends here. We're talking about the Planet Positive NFT Hackathon recap and NFTs in general, which will be an interesting subject. I've got a lot to say on it, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you all. I'll pass it back to you, Dave.
Welcome, Gregory. And it looks like we have a couple other people requesting to speak. I'm just going to add you up. Great. Well, we've got, looks like Gregory has joined us. Welcome, Gregory. Gregory's been out and about, traveling, gallivanting to the West Coast, meeting with some really exciting teams over on the West Coast interested in Regen Network and beyond. Gregory, how are you doing? How's the West Coast treating you? I think actually you just got back home.
I got back.
But anyhow, how was the West?
Got back on Monday. Yeah, it was great. It was beautiful. I'm not going to share too much about my trip here in the public space, but I had a really exciting, lovely time with amazing humans who we're going to be doing awesome things with.
Awesome.
So
I love it. Just a peek. That's all. It's all right.
Yeah.
We just want a little bit of anticipation of it
Yeah,
all. That sounds great.
It was lovely, and I'll be back out on the left coast, heading out to the Refi Summit in Seattle next week, which is exciting. And I know Austin from the foundation is going to be out there, and we're going to be doing a little R&D Inc. is going to be doing a little team retreat after the summit happens. So yeah, lots of things. Also feeling super grateful. It's just barely edging into real spring here in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts. So daffodils are blooming and the buds on the trees are just starting to go up here, where we are up kind of, as they say around here, at the top of the mountain. Although it's not really a mountain. Disclaimer: it's just hills.
It's a hill.
Yeah,
That's fine.
It's a hill.
That's great. Well, good. Well, why don't you, or well, I can maybe just kick it off, and I'll hand it over to you and the speakers. But the Planet Positive NFT Hackathon was this past week, graciously organized by the refi DAO team and graciously funded and underwritten by the Regen Network development team and Stargaze, and really examined obviously this burgeoning, blossoming area of how do we utilize NFTs to be regenerative in nature, both on the development side, as tools at the intersection of crypto and climate, and I'm sure a whole other bunch of other topics that I was not privy to, not being part of the hackathon. But we do have some hackathon participants here who are going to join us today and share a little bit more about their projects. Anyhow, Gregory, I'm going to hand you the keys and have you guide the conversation. But we've got a couple folks ready to, I think, share some of their knowledge.
Yeah, I think I won't stand in the way of those who have something exciting to share. I myself am really excited to hear the recap. I guess I'll sort of maybe frame out a couple of questions to just start so people can be speaking to the questions. I'll also get cracking at retweeting and helping fill the room up over. It's, I think we usually hit our peak room attendance about the 20-minute mark or so, 30-minute mark. So we'll get inviting. So the questions, I mean, first off, I just, as people are chiming in to speak, I'd love to invite everybody to just like share, who you are, what your, I guess, what's the change work, what's the regeneration work that you're excited about, in like briefly, if you can just encapsulate it, and then share a little bit about, what you were exploring around Regen NFTs, refi NFTs, and what was moving in the hackathon. What did you learn? What did you create? So yeah, I don't know if the folks up here, if somebody wants to just raise a hand or hop right in and take the lead, and then people can follow, and we'll just kind of do a round and get a sense of how things went, and then we can keep diving in from there.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, I'm Sajit and I work with EcoSapiens, and to give you guys a little bit of just an overview of what we do. So, we are bringing carbon on chain, in-house, and when you buy your NFT, you're actually buying 20 tons of carbon, and these are high quality carbon credits, nature based, with at least a 10-year horizon. So we are really focused on directing funds to climate positive initiatives, and the real kicker. So the entire project will offset 200,000 tons of carbon, but what we do is we also take the royalty fee, the 2.5% that goes to us, and we use that to attach more carbon to the NFT each time it's traded. So we're perpetually sequestering carbon, and yeah, we're creating a climate positive community of climate founders and investors, and also just climate activists, people that really care, and we want to make real world impact. And like at the end of the day, we only have a limited amount of time until the world's beyond beyond the limit of saving, and so we just need to all organize and also incentivize people to organize to save the world. And so that's what we're all about.
Awesome, that's super exciting. Were you participating in the hackathon there, and as part of your sort of launch trajectory?
No, I mean, I feel like we missed it. Like, unfortunately, like I would have loved to be a part of it, but it seems like we missed it, unfortunately. Next one, you guys should let us know, but we'll be at Refi Summit for sure.
Awesome. We'll look forward to jamming out there and seeing what we can do to support you guys. Right on.
Awesome.
I'm
I'll
just
follow you.
checking your
I'll follow you.
your stuff out. So it
Oh
looks
yeah, you
looks
should
rad.
check some of our art. We have Garrett Kane is our artist, and he's a really funny story. He was at all the the largest marketing firms. He was at Publicis, he was at Saatchi and Saatchi, the news creative director at BMW, and he left that world about 10 years ago to become a sculpturist. And he spent the last 10 years creating these 25, 30 foot sculptures, all environmentally inspired. And yeah, he's our artist, and so you'll notice that we have a Leo sapien, which is like a puma. We have an Ella sapien, which is like an elephant, and we have a few different kinds of um, eco-inspired animal arts. Our art is also very 3D, CG, and animated, and so you'll see our Leo sapien that's breathing. And I think for us, we really want to create a community of people that are focused on um, one, creating real world impact, but also embracing health, wellness, a plant based diet, committed to also reducing their carbon footprint. That's a big thing, because if you look at the average impact that a human at least in the U.S. at least, our carbon footprint is about 10 to 12 tons. And so when you buy the NFT, you're actually offsetting yourself and someone else. So that's sort of why we did the 20 tons. But yeah, that's what we're all about.
Right on. Thanks, Satya. Orgo, do you want to jump in just to kind of keep flowing?
Yeah, thank you guys for hosting us. This is Joe Nisbet from the Orgo team, and if anyone remembers the public land protocol, we are now Orgo, and so we participated in the Planet Positive NFT hackathon and placed second. I guess going back to your questions, Greg, about what are you most excited about to regenerate? I'm most excited about how we can use refi and these NFTs to get the proper funding to these people who are doing the work on the ground. I know everyone, working on these carbon projects, all these other different types of refi projects, knows there's a huge problem with the middlemen taking a big cut of the funds that, carbon projects are able to raise by selling offsets. My background is in permaculture design, and I just see so many of these, amazing permaculture projects that are restoring ecosystems, they're restoring communities, they're, providing mutual aid, they're doing all these amazing social and ecological benefits, and they have no money. They're bootstrapping everything. They're, going from grant to grant, trying to make it work. So I really see that there's a huge market failure around these public goods of, ecosystem services, and carbon is one piece of that. Um, I'm interested in a holistic view, I guess, coming from my background in permaculture, where carbon is just one piece of this bigger picture. But I'm just so excited for the fact that we're building tools that is going to help get money in the hands of the people doing the work on the ground. That's what I'm super excited about. So with Orgo, we placed in a hackathon back in February for it's a decentralized MRV product. We are working to collect the human sensor in the environment. So lots of carbon projects, whatever your impact that you're monitoring and creating offsets for, you've got all these different data sources to back that impact and the value of what you've created, whether that's satellite and measuring tree growth of forests using satellites, or unmanned unmanned drones. You've got IoT. You've got all these different layers of MRV that are necessary to have a comprehensive view to audit and remove fraud and have this validity that someone purchasing the offset cares about. So what we saw as a gap in refi is, what can you as an individual do in your community, and how could you get involved to help create, some data, or help create an offset, or just help out a local community organization. So Orgo is a front end user experience for individuals to find communities who need regenerative impact tasks completed, or they need MRV completed. So I'm super excited to share what we've done at the hackathon. And the other piece to this is the DAOs. So as a decentralized organization, we're talking to other organizations who are tokenizing land, DAOs that are trying to make an impact in the real world. There's kind of this tension and this gap between, the blockchain reality and decentralized governance and all these, pseudo-anonymous wallets, interacting and voting and stuff like that. Well, how do you actually make a difference in the real world? And so that's what Orgo is seeking to do, is to create a way for those DAOs to place bounties and sponsor different impact tasks that need to get completed on the ground. For example, at the city DAO in Wyoming, whatever task that they need to get done to operate and maintain their grounds. Or if you're a carbon project NFT and you've got to, go get some survey data or sample some soil somewhere, we want to have a front-facing user experience for individuals in that local community to be able to participate in that land. So yeah, with that, I think I'll pass it back to you, Greg, or whoever else wants to step in next. But that's all about Orgo.
Right on. Thanks for sharing. Liminal, you want to go next and share Liminal Village? Share a little bit about what you all were working on, or we're working on the hackathon, or more broadly.
Sure, thank you. It's very good, very nice to be here. And unfortunately, we haven't participated in the hackathon, but I'm actually right now calling in from refi conference in Vienna. I represent Liminal Village, which is an ecotech regenerative hub in middle of Italy. And what we do there is we are trying to form a network, a regenerative network of very closely interrelated, interdependent communities. So a very tight network, so that we can actually exchange goods and services within each other. And part of the role of this network is also facilitate new nodes to come in. So we have this kind of replication DNA for the hubs. And we're now recently purchased a brick factory, an old brick factory and a quarry. And we have like 6,000 cubic meter of building permit. And the intention with that is to tokenize it on blockchain, so that then we can, attract investor in the regenerative endeavor, but also kind of have an exit to community strategy where all the people that are going to be there helping, collaborating to regenerate the place will have a stake into the place itself. And we're looking for basically a scalable model for these regenerative communities to bootstrap and kickstart anywhere, and with the support of what's already out there. And there at Liminal Village, we are doing all this research and development and experimentation, also to, more importantly, what makes a community tick, what brings a community together, and how can we facilitate communal effort to actually happen rather than turn down in the downward spiral and disintegrate. Yes, that's more or less the general view. There are a lot of projects that we're doing, but I'll pass the ball back.
Nice, love it. And please pass our big hellos to the folks gathering at the refi unconference there at the Crypto Commons Hub. I was bummed to not be able to be there. My passport is in limbo at the moment, so I'm getting renewed. But really excited about the just the gathering there and the opportunity for people to come together and co-create and learn about each other's stuff. Do you want to give us just a brief just a brief report back from what's moving and how things are going there in the at the foothills of the Austrian Alps?
Well, what's really nice and different than maybe other conferences, that unconference style, it's really about the human connection as well. So it's really about self-organization, and everybody's bringing their own projects and their own ideas and their own workshop. And the discussion is really about, tokenomics in general, if tokens are actually the way to go. And yeah, there are there is a lot of knowledge, and for people that actually are not into the field, that are also here, they really feel that they're walking into some alien planet with and in fact one of the biggest issue is how do we connect all this infrastructure and technology, and actually communicate it in such a way that the people on the ground can just understand and get it. And yeah, that's been more or less the general vibe and the conversations. There's so much happening in a decentralized manner, so you can't unfortunately be in all the conversations happening. You need to make choices, and so that's a beauty and a little bit the problem with unconferences, I guess.
Definitely. How many people ended up showing up?
I would say we're about maybe 30.
Perfect.
30
That's
50,
nice.
yeah.
That's
It's
a
nice.
great
And,
size.
yeah.
Right on. Cool. Well, thank you. That's fantastic to hear a little bit more about Liminal Villages and what's cooking over there at the Crypto Commons Hub. Yeah, another exciting community member. Awesome. Well, CO2 Cult, you want to chat a
Yeah,
little bit?
hey. Nice to be here and talking to everybody. And it's nice to hear about these other projects too. That sounds really cool. What you guys are doing over in Italy. And also to Eco Sapiens. I think I saw your white paper or something, and I saw the art in there, and I was definitely really blown away. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that. And yeah, shout out to Orgo as well. Loved your presentation. I don't think we really got a chance to connect during the hackathon, but would love to talk and see if there's a way we could partner. Anyways, my name's Trace. I am the creator of CO2 Cult, and little quick background on me. I'm kind of like a creative generalist. So my main background is in music, and I'm also very entrepreneurial. I've started a couple small local businesses, nothing like a tech startup or anything like that, though. Found refi back in October, November through KlimaDAO and got really interested in it. Really just kind of resonated with this idea of tokenizing carbon and giving everyone access to it, and also really kind of accelerating the voluntary carbon market and creating this new liquidity layer for it. So got really obsessed with that. Ended up becoming a full-time contributor there for a few months, and then they did some downsizing recently, and I was kicked to the curb. No, just kidding. But it opened kind of the door for starting my own project, which was kind of always the plan. And I've also been really interested in the NFT space since the fall, and with my creative background, I just started seeing a bunch of possibilities for how it's empowering creatives, and obviously seeing the stories every day of artists that have struggled for years and finally able to get some compensation for all their hard work and for their talent. So that's kind of led to this idea of really wanting to create a green chip NFT is the whole idea. And at CO2 Cult, we are forking the Nouns distribution model. So if you're not familiar with Nouns DAO, they do one NFT auction every day. And the reason we're doing this is there's a few reasons, but we've been observing kind of the Nouns community and also just the NFT market as a whole. And from my perspective, we're kind of going through the ICO bubble of NFTs. As you probably all know, I mean, we have so many of these 10K PFP projects popping up, and they range in quality. There's obviously some really good ones that have really professional teams and a long-term roadmap, and but they all kind of start to bleed together and look similar, and they're all building metaverses, and they're all doing this and that, and it's very unsustainable, as we can probably guess. So we like nouns because they just kind of take a opposite approach. It's not, get a bunch of hype and get as many people in the Discord. It's one new person a day is the most that can technically join, but there's also very many ways that that's not as exclusionary as it might sound, that I could go into depth on. But anyways, what we're trying to do is fork that model of one a day and add an aspect of carbon offsetting into it. So 50% of the daily auctions are going to go into this custom contract that's created in a way to, it's going to bond carbon, tokenized carbon into Klima, and then that Klima will be staked, and half of the rebases every month will be offset, and it's done this way so that it creates the most continuous offsetting possible. So even if there's like a market downturn and there isn't as much volume on the daily auctions, that contract is still running in the background, offsetting carbon over time. So, and the ultimate goal is to be able to offset all historic emissions of Ethereum, which currently is around 15 million tons of carbon. And as we probably know, moving to proof of stake will reduce that quite a bit. So that's good for future emissions. But in terms of kind of undoing the damage that's already been done, and not saying that completely undoes it, but we think it'd be really symbolic and important to technically have offset all of that historic emissions. So yeah, that's a quick little overview of me and what we're doing.
Right on. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. I see refi punks out there in the audience. I know you all were participating in the hackathon. If you'd like to hop up here and share back a little bit about what's up project and just what you guys were working on. I know there's a bunch of stuff happening at the intersection of Stargaze Network and Regen Network, and with the refi punks project bringing a lot of this really interesting, I guess, NFT collectibles, PFP, and more to the Cosmos world, which is near and dear to my heart. I don't think those of you who know my biases will not be surprised by my skepticism that Ethereum is a solid foundation for regenerative finance. But that is a conversation for a different day. So refi punks, if you want to hop up, please do. If not, Josh, I'd love to sort of weave you back into the conversation. Thanks for kind of getting us kicked off again. And if you've got anything you want to weave in, otherwise I am happy to sort of trot along. I've got kind of a list of things from sort of the news, the Regen news cycle that I want to start sharing out with people. If you don't have anything that's top of mind as you're kind of like listening to this overarching flow of awesome NFT awesomeness.
Yeah, it is beautiful listening to all the projects going. I guess what's alive for me, and like just listening to the projects alive, it sounds very much like people are pretty clued in. But for me, NFTs as this kind of detached or dissociated object from the ground is something that I'm quite interested in. So it's like the real world use case of NFTs, which I feel is coming into existence at the moment, be that through offsetting with 20 tons of carbon or buying packets of land with it that then provide access. And so I guess the provenance thread is alive. I'm up for speaking about that if people are interested in those topics. Otherwise, I'll pass it back to you, Gregory.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Well, I think Michael is just about to hop up here. So when he connects,
nice.
we'll pass it over to him. Yeah, didn't look like he managed to make the connection work. So I sort of want to circle back around, and I think there's a number of different sort of high level conversations to have here. One, just sort of starting to move back through Regen news a little bit. I'm seeing some really interesting stuff in the governance forum. So I'm interested in potentially surfacing and chatting through some of that stuff. I always think some in-person conversations about that are helpful. Also, Josh, if you want to give a quick plug to the calls that you've been hosting to give people opportunities to chat about things, I think that would be super useful. I'm also thinking that the conversation around, specifically the conversation around liquidity, the upcoming NCT launch on Regen, and the marketplace launch is probably pretty useful context to bring up again and just give everybody an update around where things are at. I think that's probably pretty helpful. So those are some of the news pieces that are going on. And, there's a really interesting, I mean, I sort of think it's a little funny, the buzz that's been created by Vera's second round release of their project financing sort of option that they've been working on for, I think they're like a year and a half into working on this, and they just released the second round of comments. Everybody in the crypto space got really excited, which is great, although it's kind of not new in a way. But I think this is also something that's probably pretty useful to bring up in the context of NFTs. So that's the third kind of conversation topic that I think is super interesting. I think maybe we should start with that one. So just to remind everybody what I am talking about, I'm just going to bring up the actual Vera request for comments really quickly. So bear with me while I hop in and find it again. I popped it into our registry channel. Yeah, so public consultation on the projected carbon unit on the 3rd of May, this came out. So this, again, was the second round of the Vera carbon registry, voluntary carbon registry, putting out a request for people to have conversations and give them comments on what essentially is a forward contract. I believe that these are non-exchangeable. So in order to think about what an NFT might look like, probably if you were to embed this in an NFT and to be following the spirit of this type of contract, you'd probably want to make it non-transferable so that just like a single key pair would be owning it. And then that essentially gives you rights to future issuances of verified carbon units in the case of Vera. We've been thinking about this at Regen, both for Regen registry assets like carbon plus grasslands, carbon plus agroforestry, as well as since Regen Network kind of serves as a meta registry, we have grandfathered in other registries credit classes like Vera and Gold Standard, Climate Action Reserve. We have a really amazing community member who's been working on this non-transferable redeemable NFT module, essentially where you can link, purchase an NFT that then can be redeemed for something. In this case, eco credits. So I just want to. I think that's a particularly exciting NFT use case. I'm also super excited around sort of perpetual forward contracts or perpetual futures and perpetual offsetting. And somewhere in the midst or the composability of those different mechanisms, I think there's some really interesting blue sky design stuff, which is going to both create demand and generate a really fantastic kind of marketplace opportunity. I'm curious if, with that kind of spark of the, I guess you would say, forward contracting, mechanisms that more and more people are aware of and excited about. Curious if anybody wants to hop in and just share how that may or may not influence what you're thinking about for your NFT work.
I'm happy to hop in real quick. So something I didn't mention is I said 50% goes to this contract that's going to be perpetually offsetting. The other 50% is going to go to the community treasury. And the point of that is going to be to fund artistic projects that are creatively offsetting or doing other environmentally altruistic actions. So my thinking behind that is there's going to be so many new methods and ways you can, and like you're describing, Gregory, just new things you can do that are good for the environment through this technology. So we just want to be able to kind of be agile in that sense of finding, new and innovative things that might have more impact than our base model that we're launching with, and kind of allow, our community to discuss and decide on which way to do that.
Nice. Love it. Michael, you're up. You made it.
Hey, friends. Thanks so much. You hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm Michael, Flow Labs. We've been working on building out an NFT lab and division for the past couple of months. And this hackathon came along, and Dave encouraged me to join and was invited to the a Sasquatch project that turned into a solar punk inspired squad. And we've been talking at LOA about refi mechanics for a while, and I'm seeing at the hackathon, I was able to plug into a bunch of groups, see what's going on, and there's really neat mechanics that are coming. I'm excited for when the degens join in the fun. The Solar Squatches is a project with the intention to clean up carbon and have impact investment built in. So all of the funds from all the revenue from the project goes into an LP pool on osmosis. We're going to LP for the NCT liquidity. The yield from that, half of it's going to go towards Gitcoin grants that is voted on by NFT. The liquidity provision.
Michael, you're breaking up for me a little bit. I don't know about for other people. Can I get a confirmation of if Michael's coming in and out?
Yeah, he's breaking up.
Yeah.
Michael, we're catching you got to the point where you were explaining some of the mechanisms that you're working on related to the interaction between the NFT and the upcoming NCT Regen liquidity pool on osmosis and Gitcoin, and it kind of broke out. So I don't know if you got more stable cell signal and can keep going. Kind of weed back.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay now?
Worries. Yeah, that's much clearer. Yeah.
Super. So the revenue from the project goes into providing liquidity for the NCT pool on osmosis. There will be yield from that. Half of the yield goes back into carbon retirement. The other half goes into a Gitcoin grant fund, which will be voted on by NFT holders. Another plug, I was also involved in the Agroforestry Journal NFT project, more as an observer and intern, but it's an awesome project to encourage workers on organic farms, permaculture, apprentices to develop journals, write about their learning, and create an NFT so that people can support it and support the overall organization.
Sweet.
Both these projects are, making the world a better place. We definitely like to plug into Regen and see how we can work with the community funding and make sure they keep moving forward.
Right on. Yeah, super exciting. I'm particularly excited for this sort of interchain NFT engagement with osmosis, liquidity, and governance. So, is that NFT project that you're talking about? You're going to be building a custom contract into Stargaze. Is that the deployment plan?
We'll need some development help to get the transition from Stargaze to Osmosis. Currently, the plan is to deploy on Stargaze and have a multi-sig, which the Squatches, that's the nickname for the Sasquatches. The Squatches will control and distribute from there.
Got it. Sounds good.
But we definitely like help. We have a solid dev on our team, but we need more help to actually make it automated. I think this tooling is really the building blocks we need to make, the refi regen movement gain traction.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this just sort of flags up, just important infrastructure work that is taking place, and we need more attention on as a community around interchain accounts, the functionality in the Cosmos ecosystem that allows an address to control an address across blockchains, control a different address permissionlessly. Um, or I should say trustlessly. I think that's what you're looking for. So you don't need to have sort of like a multi-sig in between. And I know that functionality has shipped, but there's not a lot of tooling around it yet. So it's sort of for the brave. For the brave, I think if people are interested in digging in on that and want to connect with myself, I'm if there's devs on the call who are interested in jamming and learning more, I think in the next cycle we could be upgrading Regen Ledger testnet, the Hambach testnet specifically, which is the experimental testnet. If folks remember, Redwood testnet is sort of a solid, exact replica of the blockchain. Regen Ledger at this stage 3.0. So Redwood allows people to just build against a free testnet. Hambach has experimental features, essentially everything that's coming out in the next release in its beta form, and it's used for testing. I'm pretty sure we could get interchain accounts. I'm also pretty sure there's about to be some, this is sort of bridging for those of you who are deep Regenerati and in the Regen fam here. I think you're gonna start to see some community members were just reaching out to me about liquid staking, which is another super interesting thing coming online in the Cosmos world about enabling the liquid staking module on the Hambach testnet, number one, and a signaling proposal around the community around if liquid staking is something that Regen wants to adopt. In liquid staking, high level overview, liquid staking allows staked regen to generate a derivative token that can then be traded. And you're seeing this happen for those of you who've been paying attention to the Crescent DEX, which just launched, built by the Ignite team. This is sort of baked into the functionality. There's a whole set of conversations for people who want to geek out on this related to superfluid staking versus liquid staking and the different security and design assumptions therein. So I know I see a Will out there. I know he's been tracking some of this. I don't think I'm going to go deeper down that rabbit hole right now. But for those of you who are sort of engaged on the governance side and interested in the intricacies of the emerging DeFi tooling, that's something to pay attention to. The two headlines again are interchain accounts, which is what enables this use case that Michael's talking about, where you can link an NFT, for instance, or an asset cross-chain and have it have sort of cross-chain rights and abilities, and then the liquid staking, which allows you to generate a derivative from a staked asset and turn that into, put that into liquidity pools or bind that up into an NFT, for instance, which again, there's sort of, that would be a way, for instance, to bind Regen and like a regen derivative and like a nature carbon ton or a carbon plus grasslands eco credit into an asset that could be accumulating over time more and more and essentially offsetting that. So interesting primitives to be playing with that are all emerging. All right, circling back around, I had mentioned that I kind of wanted to take a moment to share about stuff that's happening out in the governance forum. I think I shared a little bit about some stuff that's going to be coming online. I also wanted to direct people to recently the peer-to-peer validator, which is a really fantastic large cap validator that validates across many different networks, including Regen. Responded to the request for proposals that Regen Foundation put out around the community staking endowment redelegation strategy and algorithm. I would encourage folks who are interested to go check out their proposal. I thought it was super well thought out. Josh, you're up here. Would you mind just speaking a little bit to that context and any thoughts that you have about that, and maybe where people can engage with that specific conversation?
Sure thing. So the P2P validator responded to Will's request for proposals that he put out on commonwealth.im/regen. And so you can get involved in the discussion there. But essentially, this is a weighting scheme that is for distributing the commission that's accumulating from the unstaked CS-DAO allocation. So it's not the CS-DAO allocation, it's the commission that is coming off that. And so what P2P Validator responded with was a set of criteria for how to distribute this extra commission that's accumulating across the community, and particularly with those that are deeply involved. And so the criteria that was proposed was prominence in the set, so their voting power with a weight of 25%. There's the community impact with another 25%. There's uptime with another 25%. Participation in the governance forums with 15%, and carbon neutral status at 10%. And so I can kind of go into that a little bit if that's good.
Before you do, I think actually it would just be useful to just circle around and speak, remind us the purpose of the community staking endowment that the foundation is stewarding right now, and how that links to Austin's work in endowment. Just to sort of like give people a sense. So this is a community conversation about sort of the short-term management of those assets that are going to be sort of like rolled out for a specific purpose. So if you want to jam on that, or if Will wants to jam on that, welcome up, Will.
Yeah, Josh,
morning.
I don't know if
That'd be great.
Jump in for a moment here.
Yeah, please.
So also just to make a clarification there, this is redelegating 25 million regen that we already have delegated through a program that we ran last year. So it is quite influential policy for stake across Regen Ledger. But just to zoom out big picture, back when we started the chain, we set aside 30 million tokens to distribute to stakeholders that we didn't anticipate would participate in the token sale, that being land stewards, indigenous nations, rights of nature projects, scientists, those sorts of constituencies. So we have a team that's distributing these tokens, led by Austin, and we already have two community staking DAOs that have launched, one with Open Team and one with Common Stack. In the meantime, though, while we distribute these tokens, there was discussion last year that for the kind of health of the network, being a proof of stake network, they shouldn't just be sitting around unstaked. They should be staked, and there should be some criteria to how they're staked. So there was a program run last year, and there were these kind of 5 rounds of 5 million delegations each, looking at a few different sets of criteria, and it's just time to upgrade that. And so that is what this discussion and proposal is about.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. Super helpful. So, for people who are interested, like, just to distill in my own words, for detail independent, for people who are interested in decentralized governance, community participation, and ensuring that Regen Network as a layer one, as a blockchain that is built by and for the regeneration movement, the refi movement, ensuring that land stewards and scientists and other stakeholders who are unlikely to participate in a in procuring governance tokens on an open market is essential. And this is also the community staking approach. There's a Byzantine veto, right? In proof of stake networks, you can halt the chain with 33 plus 1%. So what is happening here is an experiment to fuse a pseudonymous proof of stake network with essentially a proof of authority network, right? In which there are entities, known organizations with legal structures that are doing real work in the world that can halt the chain, right? And vice versa. So there has to be a happy medium or a balance of power. So we believe it both assures sort of censorship resistance, distribution, anonymity, but also anchors that in sort of real world. So this is an experiment, I think, very unique to Regen Network's approach, specifically with the aim to be empowering participants that are essential for the utility, that are essential to create eco credits, that are essential to verify eco credits, and need to be included in the governance and the financial upside of creating this public infrastructure together. And this specific proposal is a detail of how that is managed in the interim between now and the ongoing endowments or distributions to entities that are underway. So I'm personally super excited about that in a super geeky way. I think it's a really interesting experiment. I know a lot of people in the space have been paying attention to it as to, just see how it works. And if there's one thing about this sort of larger crypto space, it's the amazing opportunity to be doing these sorts of experiments in governance and in new asset classes, in new scientific approaches. So yeah, pretty amped. Thanks for laying it down, Josh and Will. It's, I think, super helpful context for everybody. All right. So Will, while you're up here, is there anything on your mind that you'd like to be sharing with folks?
Just trying to think through what there's so many things moving in the space right now. Just trying to think about what might be top of mind here. I guess one thing I'll just call out moving on the foundation side is that the foundation is governed by a trustee body called the Regen Consortium, and this was outlined in the white paper. We got some initial MOUs signed a couple years ago, but because mainnet didn't happen until last April, and the foundation didn't begin its operations until around that time, the consortium has thus far not been heavily engaged. Just to note for kind of community transparency into the foundation's governance, we're going to have our first consortium meeting a week from this Friday and get that body moving again. So hopefully we'll have more to share soon there on kind of what's happening with governance of the foundation and who's participating there. So I guess just keep an eye for updates over there.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks, Will. And I know you're just back from the Dominican Republic, right?
Yes, that's right. So Terragenesis, the company that had actually incubated Regen Network, I also serve on their board. They just had their first in-person retreat in 2 years, so that was a very exciting time for them. And there were 14 of us that gathered on this beautiful peninsula, Samana, and spent a week of time together looking at the next year. They are a regenerative supply firm, so they are working very closely with land based regeneration projects around the world. So you can certainly feel free to check out them at terra-genesis.com. And there's already various collaborations between Regen and Terragenesis going on. I guess keep an eye out there for more news to come soon.
Yeah, specifically, this sort of it brings to mind one of the really exciting things that I was wanting to share, which is an outgrowth of many, many years of Terragenesis' amazing work being a leader in the regeneration field. So recently I was out, some of you who were in the room may have heard, I was out in California at a sort of private retreat. I'm not going to share too much about the details of that, but it was a very exciting conversation convened amongst some really amazing, influential people, spurred by how excited everybody was about, after reading Kim Stanley Robinson's Ministry for the Future, about the potential of a global carbon reward or an eco coin or something of this sort. It's really awesome. Super kudos to Stan for writing that amazing book and weaving in Dr. Chin's work, Dr. Dalton Chin's work. Sidebar, if people are interested in getting a deep dive into any of that, there's specifically 3 pretty cool episodes, all of which are kind of on the older side, but episodes of the Planetary Regeneration podcast. 2 with Dalton Chin and 1 with Stan, with Kim Stanley Robinson. But back on this main thread, gathering of super influential, amazing kind of Silicon Valley folks about how to bring about this global climate coin, carbon reward, how to pay people for regeneration and conservation, essentially, which is exciting. This is a conversation that doesn't just happen in this Twitter space, or it isn't just happening even in the Web3 space. This is a conversation now that is catching like wildfire. You know, the regenerative finance, regenerative monetary theory, retooling our global economy. It's an exciting moment in history. We're all participating. Everybody in this room is part of that movement. It's super amazing. And in that context, I was sharing with that community and wanted to share back with everybody here as well. Recently, late last year, the Ecuadorian Constitutional Court revoked a mining claim, a license to mine, essentially, from a transnational corporation due to the rights of nature that it exists in the Constitution of Ecuador. Ecuador was the first nation to have the rights of nature enshrined in its constitution. This was the first big court case that nature won in the whole world. It's pretty fantastic, pretty crazy. And this has flipped everybody in Ecuador out because Ecuador has massive foreign debt, right? Big loans that they have to service with mining concessions, right? That's the deal, right? They got a bunch of money and they got to give out mining concessions and petroleum concessions. Okay, the national court just blocked mining concessions. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Okay, enter Regen Network, enter the refi movement. So this group of highly influential people got super amped about the opportunity for a private pilot in which we're paying in that area where the mining claim was revoked. We're able to quantify and pay for ecosystem services, biodiversity, carbon storage, carbon sequestration, and show that there is the ability to sort of create monetary value based on regeneration, and then bring that to the IMF, to the World Bank, to the government of Ecuador, and say, hey, look, like here's a functioning system for this idea if you were to insert that into like the global monetary framework, it would be called, in quotes, debt for nature, where instead of debt, which is money, right, being issued for mining rights, debt or money is being issued and paid back for land stewardship. And this would be the first moment in which there's a plausible sort of critical pathway that fuses the work we're doing in Web3 with the sort of like larger institutional sort of centralized finance world to create nature-backed money, essentially, or money reflective of stewardship of living systems. So anyway, super exciting. Sidebar: the group that won that and financed that, and the larger community were Regen Network grant recipients, and there's a bunch of work happening to ensure that whatever goes down there, there's sort of an alternative land registry system or land stewardship registry system, so that land stewards are getting paid directly as monetary resources are flowing, because as folks may know, in those parts of the world like Ecuador, land trafficking and corruption is oftentimes one of the biggest impediments to any of these schemes really working out very well, because oftentimes the money only flows so far as sort of the central government, and then it kind of gets dispersed from there. It doesn't actually make its way to the people who are actually on the ground. So that's some pretty epic, exciting opportunities that are coming up in the world. I think to actually critical path, there is an opportunity here to meaningfully transform the global monetary system there, which, again, I'm pretty excited about it, a little breathless, as those of you who are listening can hear, because there is actually, I think, critical mass. There's like this magical moment in time where, all of the hard work for 40 years or more to create a rights of nature framework, right, combined with all of the hard work that we've all been doing in Web3 and all of the hard work that the science community has been doing to monitor and quantify living carbon systems, and all of the hard work and like the ideas and memes spreading like wildfire that you can have money backed by healthy living systems, and Kim Stanley Robinson's book, all of that's kind of converging at this moment in time. And so it's a pretty exciting moment to be alive. With that, it is 12:03. It's the top of the hour. I know I've got some other things to attend to. So as usual, I think we'll kind of keep this spicy and short. Try to keep it to the hour that is in the name, the Regenerati News Hour. Super grateful for everybody showing up, to the listeners out there. Super stoked to have heard from the different NFT projects. If there's any way that Regen Network can support, whether it's through weaving in natively Web3 carbon assets into your project, or if you want to be jamming on building NFT modules on Regen Network, or whatever it is, reach out. You know where to find us. Thanks so much for sharing your voices. And Josh, thanks for sharing and helping convene. And rock on, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you all next week. And in the interim, see you out on the interwebs.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.